hear the judge from the bench say that in his 40 years as a judge, he has never seen something so blatantly unconstitutional sets the tone for the seriousness of this effort.
Tonight, the West is at the center of a legal battle over President Trump's bid to end birthright citizenship. A federal judge in Seattle weighing in today. And good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. President Trump is facing resistance to his attempt to deny citizenship to children whose parents are in this country illegally. Washington, Arizona, and Oregon have all signed on to a lawsuit that went before a federal judge earlier today. As Fox 13's Alejandra Guzman reports tonight, that judge temporarily blocked the president's order.
It was a jam-packed courthouse as Judge Kuhnauer pressed the defense team. He said it boggles his mind how a member of the bar could say that Trump's executive order is constitutional. He himself said that his order is blatantly unconstitutional and questioned where the lawyers were when it was in the works.
We are thrilled that the court saw the seriousness and the urgency of the complaint and request for a temporary restraining order.
Washington State Attorney General Nick Brown calling the temporary halt blocking Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship a defense of the U.S. Constitution and democracy. The temporary restraining order filed by Washington, Oregon, Arizona, and Illinois will remain in effect for 14 days. It bars the U.S. government from implementing the executive order Brown calls unconstitutional and un-American.
Back to the status quo. Back what has been the law of the land for generations, that you are an American citizen if you were born on American soil, period. Nothing that the president can do will change that.
We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know. And it's just absolutely ridiculous, but we'll see. We have very good grounds.
It's important to point out the U.S. is among about 30 countries where birthright citizenship is the norm. Trump signed the order on day one, January 20th. It says individuals born in the United States to parents without legal status are not automatically entitled to citizenship.
Taking that birthright away, I don't know how anybody can get away with that. Some of the things that are going on just don't make any sense.
Federal agencies were instructed to enforce the policy immediately, with some sections, like adjustments to federal documents, delayed until February 19th. One of the main reasons why attorneys argued against temporary relief.
So it really would mean probably creating a whole new infrastructure and a whole new application process to prove that you are a U.S. citizen.
This is the same argument Washington State has made under this order, saying that state agencies face a loss of funding, increased cost, and administrative and operational nightmares, leaving children, Americans, in limbo, citizens of nowhere, and ineligible for federal services like Medicaid and foster care programs, leaving the states to shoulder the burden.
But more broadly, this is about people. This is about people who the President of the United States was trying to deny their lawful right to be citizens.
Inside the courtroom, the federal government's attorney, Brett Shumate, defended the executive order when Judge John Kuhnauer asked him point blank if he believed the order was constitutional. It goes back to that one line, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. The judge pressed the government, Shumate saying migrants and their children are subject to the laws of this country, but not citizenship.
But to hear the judge from the bench say that in his 40 years as a judge, he has never seen something so blatantly unconstitutional sets the tone for the seriousness of this effort.
An effort to preserve the 14th Amendment, which originated from the Civil War. It granted citizenship to formerly enslaved people and protected their rights.
This is step one. We have a long way to go.
This is one of 5 lawsuits filed by 22 state, cities, and other immigrant rights groups. Now, we do anticipate to be back in court here in the next few weeks, as the next step is a preliminary injunction. But this could be the very first major Supreme Court battle of Trump's second term. In Seattle, Alejandra Guzman, Fox 13 News.
And the western states involved in these lawsuits over the president's birthright citizenship order are Hawaii, Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, and New Mexico. And we hope you will head to our website, westcoastwrap.com, for extensive coverage on all the executive orders that President Trump is issuing during his first days back in office. Those orders also include declassifying the remaining federal records related to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. We turn now to the wildfires continuing to burn across Southern California tonight. From Ventura County down to the southern border, Santa Ana winds are fueling those flames. Evacuation orders and warnings remain in effect for tens of thousands of people. One of the newest fires was the Laguna fire that broke out today in Ventura County. It burned through dry brush in Camarillo, which is northwest of Los Angeles. Firefighters did get control of this fire around noon today after it burned around 50 acres. Firefighters are planning to stay in this area to get better containment. Crews say strong wind gusts continue to be a challenge.
From the Palisades to our multiple wildland fires that have occurred in the city and around the city within our region, it's been extremely challenging.
Tonight, Fox's Max Gordon shows us how first responders are rushing to get the upper hand on other fires and prepare for rain that's incoming. The shift in the weather posing a whole new threat in fire zones.
Firefighters battling to maintain the upper hand on the Sepulveda fire north of Los Angeles. It started last night. A second wildfire, the Hughes fire, also starting yesterday. Crews are tackling the fires from the roads and overhead with water-dropping aircraft. The Santa Ana winds pushing the fire closer to the towns of Castaic and Valencia. Some residents drenching their homes with water before making their escape.
We're just making sure that before we leave, that at least are essential and at least protect our house a little bit.
LA firefighters are preparing for potential rain starting Saturday, creating new challenges, including mudslides.
The county, led by our Department of Public Works, has been taking aggressive measures to clear potential hazards ahead of the rainstorms.
Meanwhile, concerns about the lingering impacts to business, especially restaurants. Some chefs say business is down 80% since the fires broke out, and they fear LA's best eateries could close their doors in a matter of weeks.
I think a lot of places right now maybe have a month, us included. You know, if things don't start to trend the other way, I foresee a major restaurant industry collapse in LA.
In Brentwood, California, Max Gordon, Fox Business.
And there are two fires keeping crews busy in San Diego County tonight. Firefighters say the Border 2 fire is spreading at a dangerous rate on Otay Mountain, which is near the southern border. This fire started around 2 o'clock this afternoon. It does not pose an immediate threat to any homes at this time, but there is no containment on the fire. It's burned about 228 acres. There is also the Gilman fire that started in La Jolla, south of the UC San Diego campus today. Crews stopped this fire from spreading after it burned just about 2 acres. All evacuation orders in that area have been lifted, but firefighters will stay in the area to monitor any hot spots. For more, let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Mark Tamayo, who is tracking the winds that firefighters are still dealing with, and Mark, that rain that's on the way to the region. It sure would help.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. As we head into the weekend, we have increasing confidence that it will rain in some of the fire zones. As we take a look at the current conditions around the Hughes fire, it is still windy and still very dry. So this is the pattern we do not like to see. That's bad news. But good news, the weather pattern will be changing around a bit as we do move into your Friday. But right now, winds gusting to over 30 miles an hour in some cases. It's also a very dry pattern, relative humidity down into the single digits, right around 8%. So in terms of the fire danger, we still have this red flag fire warning in place for tonight into your Friday morning until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. But then we'll see a change in the overall wind flow, more of an onshore breeze, and that will definitely help the fire crews. So here we are tomorrow morning, already a bit of improvement at 5 a.m. for Friday. And then into the afternoon hours, we'll see more of an onshore breeze instead of that offshore breeze. And this is a nice sign for the fire crews for your Friday and into the weekend. Look at this, this rainfall graphic focused in Southern California. And those numbers, not just a few sprinkles, they are going up, possibly upwards of a ½ an inch or maybe 3/4 of an inch as we do move into the weekend, especially on Sunday. That's the timing of the rainfall. Los Angeles today was a warm day, 80 degrees with some haze out there as you would expect in the San Francisco Bay Area. Lots of sunshine, 69 degrees in San Francisco this afternoon, a beautiful afternoon. And then up in Seattle, some cloud cover showing up in this picture. And once again, another day of 40s. 42 degrees earlier today for the high in Seattle. Here's a satellite, the big view, where you can see clear skies over a good portion of California. This cloud cover moving into the Pacific Northwest will move into California for tomorrow, so that'll be the source of some cloud cover. In terms of the rain or snow, there's not a lot to show you on this map right now. Not a lot of coverage, but that could be changing a bit as we do move into the weekend. As far as the current numbers, right now it's 41 degrees in Portland, Las Vegas in the upper 40s, Phoenix reporting 59 degrees at last check. And here's the plan for tomorrow. More sunshine in Seattle. Temperatures will be in the 40s, more 40s in Denver. And then a sun cloud mix for Southern California. Phoenix will be in the 60s, and then Los Angeles in the 70s. So here is the plan for tomorrow. As you can see, the forecast model showing you some clouds moving into Northern California, also up into Seattle and also into the Medford area. Still some sunshine out toward Arizona for Phoenix, and then the clouds thicken up, though, into the afternoon hours. And this is the pattern we're watching into Saturday. This cool cold system will dive in from the north. That will lead to Sierra snowfall, and look what happens. That rainfall will eventually approach Southern California as well. So here is the forecast over the next 3 days. Partly cloudy skies for Seattle and more sunshine. In San Francisco, definitely temperatures cooling off and some gusty winds this weekend. And finally, a big change in the Los Angeles area. There we go with some rain clouds to talk about. A chance on Saturday, but a better bet as we head into Sunday. So a big reversal. Red flag warnings today and some more rain in the weekend forecast.
Yeah, good to see that rain in the forecast. All right, Mark, thank you. Tomorrow, President Trump is set to visit Southern California to see the devastation from recent wildfires. Officials are not releasing many details on exactly which communities he will tour, but this trip comes after threats from the president to withhold wildfire relief from California if more water isn't sent to the southern part of the state. California Governor Gavin Newsom has repeatedly said, including on X just yesterday, that California pumps as much water now as it could under prior Trump-era policies. President Trump has also hinted at a possible overhaul of FEMA, which could also affect aid for California. At this point, it's unclear if Governor Newsom will be meeting with the president during his visit. We've repeatedly asked both the White House and the governor's office for more information. The two men did tour the damage together following the Camp Fire that destroyed much of the town of Paradise back in 2018. That was during President Trump's first term in office. Coming up tonight on West Coast Wrap, the Oscar nominations are out. Tonight, why they suggest politics may be part of the conversation this award season. Plus, a hiker shot here in the West and Border Patrol agents blaming drug cartels. Border Patrol agents believe suspected cartel members attacked a hiker along a Southern California trail, this wilderness area right along the border with Mexico. Today, they posted video online of the injured hiker being airlifted to a hospital. Authorities say he was shot twice in the leg while hiking with a group in the Jacumba Mountains wilderness area. This is a federally maintained desert area along the border. Investigators have not said when the attack happened or how that hiker is doing now. In their post, though, authorities did refer to those suspected cartel members as terrorists. We turn now to a disturbing story out of Tempe, Arizona, where a mother and grandmother were arrested on felony child abuse charges after the death of a 13-year-old girl. The child's grandmother, 55-year-old Virginia Lujan, remains in custody tonight. Her mother, 33-year-old Jamie Hodges, was booked and released pending charges. Police say Lujan called 911 on Tuesday night saying her granddaughter wasn't breathing. And when officers arrived at the home, they found the girl covered in bruises and sores, and ultimately she died at the hospital. Police say they found what they describe as a makeshift cage covered in filth inside that home.
The best way to describe it, it was a bunk bed, but the lower bed of that bunk was not there, and the bunk bed around the bottom was surrounded by baby cages and makeshift bars.
Police say that both Lujan and Hodges admitted that they kept the girl inside the cage to control her, saying she had the mental capacity of a 3-year-old. 4 other children in that home between the ages of 2 and 15 were all taken into protective care. The man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students returned to court today. Attorneys for Brian Kohberger are asking the judge to toss out nearly all of the evidence in the case. Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa explains how the defense is trying to argue Kohberger's DNA was collected illegally.
This is what anyone who was trying to tune into the Brian Kohberger hearing saw for most of the day Thursday. A message informing the public that this portion of the hearing was closed. Kohberger is accused of murdering University of Idaho students Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, and Xana Kronodal at an off-campus house in November of 2022. Thursday's hearing was centered on Kohberger's attorneys fighting for nearly all the evidence collected be thrown out. They say police illegally obtained his DNA through genetic genealogy, and they believe that this is a violation of Kohberger's Fourth Amendment rights, which protects individuals against unreasonable searches and seizures. The defense also argues evidence was illegally collected from Kohberger's digital history, including Amazon, Apple, and Google accounts, as well as cell phone data, placing Kohberger at the scene of the murder a dozen times before the actual killings.
In this case, it was, of course, enormously important because that's how they identified Kohberger.
Legal analyst Ann Bremner says the defense is trying to poke as many holes as it can ahead of the trial.
It's like a house of cards. I mean, this fails, everything fails, and the case is gone.
Prosecutors say there is nothing unconstitutional about using that type of evidence. Genetic genealogy is a new way for police to investigate by comparing DNA found at a crime scene to public databases filled with DNA submitted by people trying to learn about their ancestry. Bremner says this is defense throwing a Hail Mary that could potentially be used later down the road.
Every little thing and every big thing that you raise, you have to think about an appeal. Like, when we may lose this, but that's an appeal. You know, this was a good issue, and we may not win on that, but it's an appeal.
Your Honor, we're here because the state has alleged that a single piece of evidence ties Mr. Kohberger to this case.
More than 5 hours after the hearing started, the court opened the feed to the public, Kohberger making his first appearance of 2025.
I struggle with the idea that DNA left at a crime scene, that there's any expectation of privacy by someone who leaves DNA at a crime scene, that DNA can't be, as you say, searched without a warrant to establish identity.
Well, Your Honor, I don't think any of us can go out of our houses without leaving DNA all over the place.
And we're talking about a murder scene in a house to which he has asserted no connection whatsoever, 4 victims to which he has asserted no connection whatsoever. We're not just talking about his DNA happened to be found in, a dresser drawer or something. It was found on a knife sheath where 4 people were killed by a knife.
And that was Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa reporting for us tonight. That hearing in the case is going to continue tomorrow. Seattle-based Starbucks will soon be cutting jobs at the corporate level as the company implements changes trying to bolster lagging sales and improve profitability. CEO Brian Niccol announced the forthcoming cuts in a letter to employees. It was also posted on the Starbucks website. The cuts are part of a series of changes announced last year, aiming to enhance customers' in-store experience, but also trying to strive for better efficiency. Starbucks says the cuts will not affect in-store teams. Niccol says the company will provide further details about these changes coming up in March. Unions all across the West are showing strength at the start of President Trump's new term. Fox's Mike Emanuel shows us how they're making demands and deals.
Unions claim some big wins in 2024, and they're starting the new year strong. Las Vegas hotel workers ending their longest strike in decades on Wednesday, saying they won a big victory over Virgin Hotels, where about 700 employees have been walking picket lines since November. Union workers will get a 32% salary increase and better working conditions.
I was struggling. I have a brother and a little cousin that I take care of at home. and I was finding it hard to make ends meet to feed my cousin every day.
The announcement came just a few days after Costco employees voted to authorize a strike if their demands for better pay are not met. The Teamsters Union represents about 18,000 workers across 5 states, and their contract expires next Friday. Labor groups and some Democrats on Capitol Hill say they'll keep pushing back on what they say is an anti-union sentiment within the Trump administration.
You will hear how programs that have assisted for the environment or for unions should instead be replaced by programs to serve big corporations.
But on the campaign trail, President Trump painted himself as a pro-union pragmatist, saying his policies will help strengthen organized labor, especially the Teamsters.
You're going to have a lot of competition in Mexico, and that competition is not going to happen anymore.
Amazon announced Wednesday it will close its operations in Quebec, the only Canadian province where their employees are unionized. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, the Oscar nominations are out. How this year's award show will honor Southern California firefighters, and the nomination that's getting a lot of attention in Hollywood as well as Washington, D.C. Plus, a piece of West Coast history up for grabs at auction. How much this one-of-a-kind railroad spike is expected to go for.
During this year's ceremony, we will honor the talented filmmakers nominated today, pay tribute to our brave first responders, and celebrate the enduring spirit of Los Angeles and the film industry.
This year's Oscars ceremony will be about more than just the best in filmmaking. Along with today's announcement of the nominees, organizers promise the award show this year will honor first responders who have been helping to fight wildfires across Southern California, some of which have disrupted production in Hollywood. And this year's Oscars in Hollywood are also colliding with the political reality in Washington, D.C. Actor Sebastian Stan was nominated for his controversial portrayal of a young Donald Trump in the film The Apprentice. The president criticized the biopic about him, calling it, quote, classless. I talked earlier with TMZ's Charles Latiboudiere about Stan's Oscar nomination, which surprised many in Hollywood.
A lot of people have said that his performance as Donald Trump in The Apprentice was good, but not necessarily you didn't hear a lot of people saying that it was, Oscar worthy. This one is being received as this is Hollywood kind of doing what they can to stick it to Donald Trump. Obviously, it's no secret that most of the people in Hollywood, being Democrats or liberal, not fans of Donald Trump.
And the 97th Annual Academy Awards will take place on March 2nd in Hollywood. Finally tonight, a piece of Alaska's history is set to hit the auction block. The 14-karat gold spike that was driven into the final coupling of the Alaska Railroad back in 1923 will go to the highest bidder tomorrow. Christie's Auction House is handling this auction, and as you can see from this post on the auction house's website, the relic is expected to go for tens of thousands of dollars. President Warren Harding had the honor of driving this spike into the Alaska Railroad. The completion of that project was significant. It marked the launch of a system to easily bring coal and other natural resources out of the Alaska wilderness. And that does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching as always. And a quick reminder before we go, you can stay up to date on all the big stories we are covering across the West at our website. That's westcoastwrap.com. And stream our shows on your smart TV by downloading the free Fox Local app. Have a great night.